You're listening to Tabletop Arcanum, a podcast dedicated to learning and exploring the hobby of tabletop gaming. Your hosts are Justin Taylor and Richard Geese, so sit back and relax as we talk, discuss, and joke our way through the hobby we love so much. And they're off! You and your friends head to the races for a day of cheering, jeering, betting on your favorite horses. Place your bets in real time as the dice move the horses along the track. Do you bet early to best the odds, or wait to see how the race is shaping up? The player with the most money after 4 rounds wins. Welcome to Tabletop Arcanum. This is Justin, and today I am bringing you a review of Ready, Set, Bet from AEG. It's a 2 to 9 player game and plays in about 45 to 60 minutes, and is a real-time betting game using horse racing as a theme. Now, my first impressions of this one were curious because it's not a theme or a real-time betting. It's not something I would normally gravitate towards, but with AEG publishing and John DeClaire designing at the helm, I was given a demo while I was at Gen Con, and I was pleasantly surprised. The artwork and components are relatively simple. The horse meeples that you get to race across are really nice, and overall it is quite a bit of game in a very tiny box, and most importantly supports up to 9 players, and that was something that definitely caught my eye early on looking at this one. So let's dive into what Ready, Set, Bet does well. As a real-time game, and a betting game at that, Ready, Set, Bet has this wonderful tension and go with the flow, and you're always kind of engaged with the game. Maybe you're waiting, maybe you're placing your bets, maybe you're trying to get to a betting spot before another player. The entire time you're engaged with the game, you're not waiting for another player to take another turn, and it does that well. Another great piece is it does support up to 9 players. Now, typically one player plays the house, who's rolling the dice, moving the horses, and generally giving some color commentary about what horses are taking the lead, if anyone double moves, or any of those sorts of situations occur. And if you have a player in your group that can really liven up the game with that, this title shines with that experience. Now, if you don't have anyone who wants to do the horse betting race, AEG does have you covered with a website. Run your race through that way. Don't feel obligated to do that. There's also some variance rules that they place in there for the house bets, which can get that house player involved a little bit more in that gameplay. Now, the fun thing is you are placing bets over 4 different races. You're getting cards and different events, and some things change between the races, let alone the race itself. So it keeps evolving as you play. You can even do decently well by casually betting or watching what other people are doing and seeing how the race shapes up and dropping most of your bets near the end of the race. The final thing I like to call out with Ready, Set, Bet is the clever use of the 2d6 bell curve statistics of what is the most likely chance to roll on a 2d6 roll is 7. And horse 7 doesn't get bonuses if it double rolls. It has some of the weakest payouts on the winning board. So all of the bets and all the things are actually statistically aligned with the chances of those horses winning, placing, or showing. Let's look at a couple opportunities that Ready, Set, Bet has. One thing I would have liked to see is a slightly larger race board with slightly larger horse meeples and possibly even larger dice. It's just one of those, it fits in the box nicely, but it is still smaller than the regular board. It probably could have been expanded upon a little bit more, especially the meeples and the dice. Now, since they are just traveling on a board, one thing that we have encountered as I played through the game getting ready for the review is if your house player is careless with their dice, or maybe not using a dice tray or some other mechanism, there is a chance that some rogue dice may spill onto the track, knocking horses around and disrupting the game flow of the game. The VIP cards, or power-up cards that you kind of earn as you go through your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th races, do offer some interesting choices for players to either potentially piggyback off bets or get extra bet tokens that they can use to kind of help catch up. But unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be any sort of true catch-up mechanic for someone who isn't necessarily as savvy at betting as some of the other players are. One thing we did discover, and maybe it's just the way our dice luck went, is most of the exotic finish bets weren't really something that paid off in any of our games. Some got really close, but then the game field would change and no longer be valid as a payoff section. So it would be nice to see some of those be a little bit more usable and possibly even have a little bit more variety in that deck. But overall, Ready, Set, Bet is one of those large count player games that isn't still a party game that you can have a lot of fun with, and I definitely would recommend it as a game that you could potentially add to your collection if your group likes those real-time no downtime games and doesn't necessarily want to play hidden trader or large group mass market party games. Another benefit that Ready Set Bet does have going for it is relatively quick as long as your dice are working with the horses. And my final thought for Ready Set Bet goes with, even if the horse racing theme isn't necessarily your thing, definitely give this one a look because it does have some interesting fun packed in a game that you may not even have been expecting. You may be pleasantly surprised by the title like I was. This has been Tabletop Arcanum's review of Ready Set Bet from AEG. I hope you found this enlightening and given you some inside information on whether or not you'd like to place your bet on this title. Make sure to follow us on our social media accounts. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. We like to hear from you. As always, thanks for listening and happy gaming. You've been listening to Tabletop Arcanum, produced by Justin Taylor. This episode is hosted by Justin Taylor. Mixing and editing by Richard Geese. Original theme by Paul Moore and Isaac Gilbert. Check the description for this episode's featured background music. You can follow us on most social media platforms. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and leave us a review if you would. As always, thanks for listening.